In today's annual conference of Maastricht School of Management, I had the pleasure to chair one of the panels. This panel was dealing with the issue of migration, which is, I think, one of the pertinent challenges of our time, and it links to various topics that MSM is working on relating to governance, management, entrepreneurship, economic inequalities, human mobility. It was a very diverse and stimulating panel, 3 different papers, where the first paper really focused on the geopolitical dimension of migration and refugees, discussing the discursive components of Russian foreign policy and how that affects the European approach to the refugee crisis. The second paper dealt with a very different aspect of migration, more the economic and business side of it, exploring how Tajik labor migrants that move to Russia determine the location of their stay. A third paper, again approaching the refugee and migration issue from a new angle, focusing more on a management perspective, really explored the role and the obligation of the private sector in dealing with humanitarian crisis and with violent conflict, and took up the issue of emerging multi-stakeholder platforms or multi-stakeholder initiatives and how they can contribute to solving these very complex crises or challenges related to migration and refugees. So the theme of this panel in today's conference about migration and refugees also links to an increasing body of research that MSM is also involved in. First of all, on the nexus between entrepreneurship and migration, we have honorary professor Josette Dijkhuizen, who is working on women entrepreneurship and refugee entrepreneurship in Lebanon, in Jordan, but also increasingly in the Netherlands. I myself have been studying different policies and regimes dealing with diaspora and refugee entrepreneurship, particularly in the Middle East. My own doctoral research also focused on the lessons that we can learn from protracted refugee crisis, in this case focusing on the Palestinian refugee population in Lebanon, and looking at matters of informal settlements, which holds lessons for the Syrian refugee crisis that we are dealing with now as well. That is also related to a more policy-oriented critical approach to the notion of shelter in the region that is increasingly adopted in Europe to deal with the refugee crisis. And in addition to that, MSM is now getting increasingly involved in various consortia. In these consortia, we work with partners related to the Plural Security Insights Network, as well as Utrecht University, in exploring from a multidisciplinary perspective and with partners from different countries, this interplays and interface between so-called security threats and increasing human mobility. With these consortia and our partners, we try to study this issue from a multidisciplinary perspective and put the complex dynamics between the issues of migration, entrepreneurship and securitization on the research map, and MSM has the ambition to play a leading role on this topic.